Hello and thank you for finding a way over to this tutorial on how to create a photo with a ruined look and feel. To do this, I've used Corel PHOTO-PAINT, which is part of CorelDRAW Graphic Suite. And my name is Stefan Lindblad. I'm an illustrator and graphic designer, and I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden. To create all these effects, I've been using various effects in PHOTO-PAINT, of course, but I've also used a texture of a office paper that I've crumbled and folded and destroyed a little bit under the in the water sink, added some tea and coffee, and also added a tape with some black dirt on it. And the other texture that I'm using is a texture that is totally transparent. All this black is the image and rest is transparent. And I've created this texture by myself using Corel PHOTO-PAINT by simply taking a photograph, in this case of a neighborhood path between two subway stations of a concrete wall. I've taken lots of photographs from that area and I've been using them for many images similar to this one. So I recommend you do that as well. So these two are actually the main textures that I'm going to show you that I used in my image. And the original image actually looks like this one. It's a photograph that I took, and you can actually notice me here in the middle. I took this especially for this tutorial, and it's of a cafe early in the morning, just before they open the cafe. And it's a photograph that's kind of plain and just straight out of the smartphone. So when we're finished, we're going to see obviously something that looked like this. It might differ a little bit, but you'll see that it looks pretty similar to what we have in front of us. The other effects that I've been using to create this is various merge mode effects, and which is basically blending techniques. So I'm blending in all these textures like the office paper and the textures just showed you. But I'm also using new lens objects, which is part of the object stocker. But let's start by using this photograph here and start adding these effects. So I'm going to create a new object and right click black color here in the color palette and then go over to the fill tool, and I see that I've already filled it with black, and fill the object in black. After that I'm going to go to effects, noise, and add noise. And in add noise I'll see that Gaussian noise type is selected. I'll keep it as it is and click OK. So now when I have the noise type called Gaussian, I'm going to change the opacity here to 19.5 and then move over to merge mode, which we can see here. You can choose anyone that fits your particular image. For this one, the effect that I want, I'm going to go with something called screen. Now I'm going to take advantage of creating this duplicate and do some effects that are more permanent, actually are permanent. And that's why I made it duplicate, because I can always throw that duplicate away and redo the whole process with that object. So I'll go to effects menu, camera, and find the sepia toning, because I want to have that old sepia color. Let this process a while. It takes a while to make it process, and there we have it. And then just click OK. So, and this will also process a little bit after you click OK. So let's see when that is finished. Taking a little time there, sorry for that. But so if we now would have to redo this, we could simply just, if we just turn this off, we could just go back, like I said before, and duplicate this. But we're going to go with this, of course. So now when I have this sepia tone all over the image, I need to get some of the red color, some of the red paint here on the tables and the chairs to come forward. So what I do is to see to that the object is selected and go up to the opacity, and I'm gonna write down 60, but of course depending on your image 60 might be enough, or too little, or too much. So you adjust, you go with whatever works for your particular image. But I'm going to go with 60, click enter on the keyboard, and now you see how the red come forward here. If I now want to go create a sepia toning and age appropriate, so to speak, I can always work with a new lens and go to new lens that you find here down here at the object locker, and then go to something called photo filter, and we find photo filter over here. So that's a color. We have red. Now I know from before that I'm gonna go with something that's kind of yellow, something like there. So I actually wrote that digits down, so I'm just gonna change this. 252 is the one over on top, and then I want to have 226 and 199, I think it was. Yes, 199, and see how that looks now. And then click OK. So now I have a two types of aging filters going on here. So we have the camera sepia toning, and then we have the new photo filter lens object that I added. So if I turn this off, we're going to see that it looks a little bit brighter here now, and when I turn it on again, it looks a bit more yellow and sepia and old and so on. Because I already imported the two textures that I'm going to use for this project, I usually go by importing them using the import here in the property bar, or as you can see in the hovering preview, it says import, and then in the parentheses Control+I as in Italy, or on the keyboard, or just go via file and import. So usually that would be my process, so to speak, my workflow, but I already imported it just to save some time here in the video. So what I now are going to do is to activate this paper, office paper, and what I'm doing after that is to use a merge mode again, this wonderful little thing that I love to use. And you already see when I use the merge mode called texturize that I'm getting this wonderful feel of the old paper already. So if I'm going to turn it off again and you just look closer down here in these areas, you see how this wonderful paper that I created like this, with all the folds and the crumbles and all the tape and the dirt and everything, really give that good old feel that I'm going for. So what we now have to do, of course, is to go to the other object. I'm just going to bring this object with a black color that I filled, and then activate the first object here, the texturize. And of course I duplicated this and rotated it, so I'm going to activate that too. So now we have these two here in the picture. So you see how the paper, the crumbled paper that I did, and also the textures that I created myself by going to a pathway between two of the subways, the metro stations here in my neighborhood, taking photos and creating this photo paint. I already get this old feel, and this white texture really give that feel of when a photograph have been scratched off from the print on the photocopy paper. So it's really a nice way of giving that old feel to a photo. And of course you can place your textures and as much as you like. I wanted to go a little bit much with this one to show you for this video, but if you want to go less, of course, you go for what works for you, of course. One other thing that I want to add is to enhance this folded paper effect that I have here. Well, it's not actually an effect, it's the actual photo that I folded. But to get that effect and enhance it a little bit, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to this image here. And as I see it, it's a color image, of course. But I'm going to go and just use the crop tool here first and foremost. And then just going to crop it like that. You don't have to, but I like to do it. And from there I'm actually going to go to grayscale and convert this to grayscale, and then just click OK and go with the standard default. And from there I'm just going to use the mask tool, rectangle mask, and then I'm going to make a copy of that here. And don't take too much. Well, I won't take too much, but not too little either. And then Control C, as in C, so on the keyboard, and then go back to my image. Well, actually, I'm gonna stay here. It's much better to show you actually what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a new object just to show you how I do this, and then paste it with Control V. So what I'm actually gonna do now is something really good and very helpful. If you go to the toolbar and go to color transparency, this is one of those tools that I so often come back to because it's so easy to use. You can also change the smoothing and the tolerance up here, and I have 10 and 10, and we can see if I can change that in somehow. But what I actually do now is to place the tool with the cursor and press 1 and then drag to the side, and suddenly I removed a lot of dirt and so on that I really don't want to keep. So I'm gonna go back and do that for you again and place myself on top of that object, and suddenly we have this one. And if I now would think that maybe I removed a little too much, I could always go back and see if I can change that by sorry for going back and forth here. If I can change that by changing the tolerance level here and go down to 5 or 2 and click OK. So now we have 5, and here's the tool, and then I'm going to press down here, and suddenly you see with the lower tolerance level I actually got more saved, and in this sense it's actually good to me, because now I'm going to use my my eraser tool, and using the eraser tool I can get hold of the nib selector, and I'm gonna go with this one here. 47 is not the name of it, it's just the size of the shape, basically, more or less. So now I'm going to use the eraser tool also on my pen, and now I'm gonna go Control and Shift and make it smaller, and I'm also gonna remove these two or these three up here and just go with the pressure that I have up here. And then I'm just gonna punch, not so much drag, but punch. Sometimes I can drag maybe, and if that works, I'm actually gonna make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just gonna, well, I'm actually gonna drag a little bit quick here to get remove these straight lines, so it's not so obvious what I've been doing to get this effect. And from here I'm just going to go down again, so we don't get that overly transparent feel where it really looks like you're trying to add some transparent effect. So I'm just going to dab around like this a little bit, and when I've done, I'm just going to copy it and import it to the image itself. I'm actually going to collapse the docker here and move in a little bit closer. Goes a little bit faster to fix this then. Okay, so we're gonna just remove a little bit here on the edges, like I said, to just those straight edges, and get away of those so obviously transparent features. But of course this is going to be kind of blended or affected by the blends that have already been done, so we don't have to work on this too much. But remove and still keep some of this. It's going to add that nice effect that we're going for. Okay, so now I'm going to make a copy of this one. This one is going to be pasted into the image that I'm working with, of course. It's going to be smaller than the document image here that I'm working with, but that's okay for this example in the video. Otherwise I would keep the same size as the paper is here in the image. Now when I double clicked it, you see that I get some rotating handles, so I could actually manually rotate it, but I'm still going to go over here up in the property bar where it says angle of rotation. So I'm going to add a 9, so it says 90, and press enter key, and then enter again, so I remove the rotation angle rotation, and then place it here in the middle. You see the original fold is over there, so I'm going to place it somewhere there, and then drag this side's handle and move it to the side a little bit to the middle. And what I'm now going to do is to duplicate this one here, duplicate, and this one I'm also going to double click and add a 9, so I can rotate that one as well, and suddenly I had one here in the middle. So I click one more time, and then I'm going to place this one somewhere here. It could actually go outside of the picture, it doesn't matter so much. Maybe there, or maybe there. We'll keep it there. And then I'm going to duplicate that and do the same, almost. Not going to change the angle, I'm just going to drag it down here and place it somewhere here. And then a third duplicate, which winds up here, of course. Sorry for that one here. So here it is. See if I can grab it without taking the whole document with me. And now we have 3 folded effects here in the image. And of course I'm going to use the merge mode again. So you saw that I've selected this one here, of course. And with that selected, I'm going to go to something called multiply. You can choose any one that works for you, as always. All these 3 that I have here in that horizontal position, I'm going to add multiply. But then I'm going to change the effect in the middle, and I'm going to go with divide. And of course we could go with divide or something else here. That would look a little bit like that. That's kind of cool. But I'm going to stay with the multiply for this one here. And now I'm going to add more new lens effect. And I'm going to go with brightness, contrast, and intensity. And of course I wrote down the values before I started this video, so I have them already here. It's 25 for brightness, it's 74 for contrast, and then for intensity I'm going to go with 25 again. So that's 25, 74 and 25 again. Click OK, and we have this vibrant, powerful effect. So it's really great how so little can give such an impact. So if I'm going to turn it off a little bit, hide it, and then turn it on again, you see how cool this looks like. I'm now going to go down to somewhere here and add a new object and use the rectangle mask tool. And here in the middle, I'm going to create a rectangle on both sides. Basically just gonna make one and then make a duplicate of that. So I'm gonna fill this with white, and then I can remove up here, maybe you saw that, just remove the mask here in the property bar. That's what I did. And from there I'm gonna go to the darker, duplicate, keep it selected, hold down the control key, and then drag it to the side so it winds up somewhere equal here. And from here I'm actually going to add in the opacity to around 15. I think that's enough. Yeah, I think that looks fairly good. I think that actually is the correct value for this one, because I want the bright be there, but I don't want to have it too bright. And what I'm now going to use is the eraser tool and the same soft nib that I used before. And then I'm just going to select the correct object, and then from there I'm just going to dab and drag a little bit, strokes, dab, maybe it's better for this one, and so I can remove the hard edges, the sharp edges from the transparency, so it looks a little bit more natural. I'm going to do that same thing with the duplicated object that I did. It doesn't have to be sharp or straight, the softening of it, just to get a feel that it's more soft, because now it's a little bit too sharp. So now we have a light effect here, which I kind of like and wanted. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in here by clicking up here in the property bar and the zoom, and it says to fit, so I can come closer to this image. And I'm on object 28, so I'm going to create a new object on top of that using the rectangle mask tool, and just add some area here that I'm going to fill. And I'm going to use the fill tool, and I'm also going to use, you can actually double click on this fill tool here if you like, or you can just select the fill tool, and if you for whatever reason are here on the property bar, just click the fill tool up on top here. There are various different fills that we can use, and the fill that I'm going to use for this exercise is this one called Fountain Fill 018, and that's one of the standard fills, so they may not look as so many fills here, but you can actually edit them and you can change them any way you want, more or less, within that fill. And you can also download more fills from the cloud, and you can share with other designers and so on. So the what you can do with this is limitless. I mean, you can just work with it, and it's an amazing tool, the fill tool in Corel PHOTO-PAINT and CorelDRAW as well. But I'm going to go with what's called Blue Horizon, the name, which is 018. So you know that Blue Horizon and 018 is the same. And I'm going to leave it as it is. Maybe change the colors to red or something like that. But I'm going to start by keeping it as it is and click OK and fill this area. And see if I can just change the opacity here in the object docker to like 60 and see what happens. No, that was like 600. And click enter. That's kind of okay, but I think I'm gonna go down to 30 or something like that, and enter key, and maybe even 20 actually, because I'm looking up here in this area. I thought it was a little bit too non-transparent, so to speak. And I'm gonna go up to the property bar also and remove the mask. Now when I have this, I'm not finished. I want to have this effect a little bit to the side. I'm also going to go on over it with the eraser tool, but I'm going to show you that in a little bit. And then I'm going to duplicate this one, and then drag Control key on the keyboard and drag it to the other side. So I'm just going to place it like that. So now I have two fills effects that I like here, and now I'm going to go back to this one. I see that this one is selected, so I'm going to use the eraser tool once again and work on the edge here so it's not too sharp. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one here. Was that the correct one? Yeah, it was. It just moved a little bit here. So we're going to work with this one here and soften the edge here. So you can do many things here to get a sort of a burning effect on these two. And this more or less concludes the video tutorial actually. So I hope this gave you a lot of ideas on how you can work yourself, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.